All right, YouTube. This Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit on this Friday morning. Lots going on in these United Snakes of America. But today we're going to talk about what's going on in Chicago. Now, me being from Detroit, Chicago is family. Ohio is family. Indiana is family. This is the Midwest, unlike New York. You know, New York is a Democratic, liberal stronghold. You know, that's why they always with the shenanigans coming out that Democratic Party. But down here in the Midwest, not so much. So you got this Democratic puppet, Brandon Shields. No, yeah, that's his name, Brandon Shields. Yeah, play on words. But the Chicago mayor, he wants to flood Chicago with Venezuelans, these immigrants that's wreaking havoc amongst the regular citizens that's been there. He's so much in the pocket of the Democrats that he's willing to go he's willing to go toe to toe with the border czar and the Trump administration to protect the Venezuelans and the immigrants and the gangs that he is willing to protect the citizens. So, and you ask yourself, why would a mayor, a so-called black mayor, be so adamant about protecting Venezuelan immigrants, Trinidad and Nicaragua gangs, in the face of the dissatisfaction of his constituents? He doesn't care about the Chicagoans and what their needs are and what their problems are and what their concerns are as it relates to what's going on in that community, but they voted him in. But Chicago is fighting back. And as a Detroiter, I'm definitely standing with Chicago, especially against these liberals who push these policies into our communities that are anti-God, anti-Christ, anti-family, anti-community. They ran on that agenda. They ran on the destruction of the nuclear family. They ran on policies that were anti-country. They ran against calling patriots Nazis and fascists. They ran on lies. And you know what the Bible says, what Jesus said about lies. The devil is the father of lies. And when he speaks a lie, he speaks of his own. And that's why we have to stand up to these liberals. These liberals is going out kicking and screaming. They fearmongered this country to the point that they created the largest mental health crisis in American history. You have these liberals melting down, shaving their heads, talking about B4 movements and alienating themselves from their families. They have created a total mental health crisis amongst their constituents and their base. These liberals are talking crazy. They are really talking crazy. They going out kicking and screaming because they wanted that debaucherous, nefarious, Luciferian agenda pushed down the throat of the American people, and America rejected it. We rejected it. We rejected your late-term termination of pregnancy. We rejected your gender reassignment for children. We rejecting your open borders. We rejecting all of that Luciferian agenda that you tried to promote to us. And Chicago is standing tall. Unlike New Yorkers, we have to support Chicago. And without further ado, let's get off into these clips. My first clip is Chicago citizens going head to head with the mayor. My second clip is when the border czar, Tom Holman, pulls up and his message to that weak, blackface mayor in Chicago, that sellout, that traitor, that treasonous Negro in Chicago. So without further ado, let's get into these clips. This is for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act for education and commentary. Let's get off into it.
I want to know, how does it feel that Trump is in office right now? Get rid of the illegals. He's a loser. He's a loser. You're a criminal. Why do I got address you. The feds need to address you. DOJ need to address you, and hopefully Donald Trump will address you. Donald Trump winning the election is the gift that just keeps on giving. As a black man, there's nothing I love more than seeing my fellow black people wake up to the destructive policies of the Democrat Party. And in the city of Chicago, they have been making their voices heard. Let's watch them destroy Mayor Brandon Johnson to his face at a city council meeting. I want to know, how does it feel that Trump is in office right now? You see Mayor Brandon Johnson, you underestimate us. You underestimate the black people, and you underestimate Chicago Red. We're the thorn in your side, and we're going to be the thorn on everybody else in this council member side, too. If you don't stop what you're doing, we're going to take matters in our own hand, and we're going to stop it. You know that Trump had pulled 45% of the voter in the state of Illinois, 37 in the city of Chicago? That's the statistic. That means that Illinois is turning purple. We're going to turn red. And for the these city councilman member, I warn you, do not sit with Brandon Johnson. We're going to get them seats.
You are in violation of the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, the law of the land, the supreme law of the land. The stupidity to think that you all could come with this type of cut, this type of recommendation, and not come.
These Chicagoans is going in on Brandon Johnson, as they should. He is betraying all their interest. And you have to logically think there's something motivating him. There's something behind him to take this type of stand against his own people in Chicago. What do the Democrats have on him? What was their end game? That they would push the people and the citizens to the point to where this is out and out rebellion. This is rebellion.
The true accounting of how much money was spent on these illegals. You all have yet to be transparent with that. That's the biggest financial downfall of the city.
So to give a little bit of context, Mayor Brandon Johnson is probably the most unlikable mayor across the United States. He said when he was running, he was not going to increase property taxes for the residents of Chicago. But now after they've spent basically $500 million in the last year on illegal migrants, they're now raising property taxes to help pay for the migrant crisis, while at the same time refusing to comply with Tom Holman and the Trump administration on deportations. So the black community is just fed up. They're tired of being ignored. They're tired of being told to just deal with it. They're tired of seeing their schools that are closing due to lack of funding being reopened as shelters for illegal immigrants. So you can find the funds for the illegals, but not to support our children's education. But let's keep it rolling because they continue to go in on this man viciously. Watch.
You all sit up there and said you would not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. You campaigned and doubled down that you would not raise property taxes.
I won't raise your property taxes.
You wanted to raise our taxes $300 million. They shut it down. Now we back here for $150 million. Okay. See, this is what we asking now. Since you want to crash out, some of y'all said y'all willing to go to jail for it. Trump, Tom Holman, make an example of this Negro right here first. You are going down in history as the...
Now, she said that Brandon Johnson, he's willing to go to jail. He's willing to stand up and fight in behalf of illegal immigrants. Wow. Why? When clearly the very people that voted for him are telling him what their demands are. It's almost like these things need to be tied to the Epstein's list, the Diddy list. We got to find out what has these people so loyal and so corrupt on that Democratic Party. They are the worst. You got the Roland Martin, the Angela Rye, these treasonous people. They come out, they not only betray their own communities. They act like they will sell out the country. For what? When clearly the people that pay your check don't want these migrants and don't want these illegals in their city. And we got to pay attention to Chicago here in Detroit, because the more that they have problems in Detroit, they try to slide them to Ohio, and then they try to slide them up in here in Michigan. We don't want them either. We don't want them in Detroit. We have enough problems. We have enough problems getting assistance for veterans and homeless people in our city, and they trying to sneak them into Detroit from Chicago. We got to stand with Chicago. This has to be a movement across the country.
Worst mayor in America. Let's start with cutting yours. You making too much money. Let's start there. You Democrats, and you remember you told us to defund the police? Remember, you ran on that. Remember, you was to defund the police? Let's start with that. Let's defund the police detail that you have. And let's put the police back in our neighborhood, because we're not for defunding the police.
This was going to happen to you. You got Cash Patel and Pam Bundy that you're going to have to deal with sooner than later. Then it's going to be an audit. Next, it's going to be an investigation. Then it's going to be an indictment. Conviction. That's what's going to happen to you.
That one took me out. He said you got Cash Patel, you got Pam Bondi to worry about. They're about to convict your ass. But I'm going to play this last clip where this guy makes a fantastic point that should scare not just Brandon Johnson, but all Democrats across the country, which is the days of Democrats telling the black people, vote for us no matter what, are officially over. Watch.
And I remember when my elementary school in the area that I live in, the Wadsworth Elementary School, was turned into a migrant shelter. And I remember how Democrats talked to us like we were stupid. You need help. The immigrants need help. Y'all gotta work together. They live in poverty. This is something that you have to accept. And they talked to us like we were 5 years old. But y'all wanna talk about Republicans belittling black people and talking to them like they're stupid? I felt like I was 3 years old, like, okay, like, I don't know where Venezuela is on a map. Half of the people who support these migrants probably couldn't point to Venezuela on a map. We don't want illegals in our community. We don't want migrants terrorizing our own people. And to have y'all sit up here and say, we have to accept $70 million being given to them when you got black people who are already struggling and need help, it is a disgrace. It is a disgrace. And this election of Donald Trump represents something that is just more than him winning. This is the end of vote blue no matter who. This is the end of they black, you gotta vote for them. This is the end of Democrats saying lesser than two evils. They did that with Hillary. They did that with Biden. They did that with Kamala. It didn't work this time. People are sick and tired because nowadays you got to get your hands dirty. You got to come down and talk to the people. You got to give a little to get a little. Black people are not falling for the okie doke. A long time ago, y'all would say, black people jump. We say, how high? They say, stoop down. We say, how low? They say, go vote Democrat. We would run faster than you saying vote to get to the ballot box. But this is the end.
They're worried about making their rent, about being able to afford groceries. How do you tell someone like that, hey, if you put X percentage away...
Again, there's nothing I love to see more than my fellow black people waking up to the hypocrisy of the Democrat Party and moving over to the side of the righteous and fighting for true American values. Now, we all know the border crisis is bad, but I bet you had no idea just how bad it was. It's so bad that MSNBC, the mouthpiece of the Democrat Party, is reporting on how bad it is. And watch what they say.
New reporting from the New York Times today shows that during the first few years of the Biden administration, the United States saw its largest immigration surge ever, adding an average of 2.4 million migrants per year and surpassing the immigration boom of the late 1800s and early 1900s. Several factors contributed to this, including political chaos in places like Haiti, Venezuela, and Ukraine, and, according to the Times, the immigration policies President Biden kept in place until his border crackdown this past June. Immigration became one of the Democrats' biggest liabilities in the 2024 presidential election, and Roger Karma argues in The Atlantic that the party should learn a lesson from this. He writes, "For more than a decade, Democrats have struck an implicit electoral bargain. Even if liberal immigration stances alienated some working class white voters, those policies were essential to holding together the party's multiracial coalition. That bargain now appears to have been based on a false understanding of the motivations of Latino voters."
The highest number of border crossings in history, surpassing the late 1800s and early 1900s, where literally that's all that was happening, was immigration from across the world into America. Biden allowed more immigrants in than that. And those are just the recorded ones, the ones that were caught and documented. You have to imagine that it's at least 50%, if not double that number, of people who didn't get caught, got away, weren't recorded or registered, weren't apprehended, but still managed to sneak in. We will truly never know how many illegal immigrants got into the country, but just the recorded numbers that they mentioned already make it the highest number in United States history. And I see why the residents of these sanctuary cities are tired of it. They're fed up. It's not just from a crime perspective that the illegal immigration problem is affecting them. It's that they're a total drain on society. And now these governments are having to spend so much money just to maintain these illegal immigrants that it's taking away from other crucial needs in the budget. Now, I want to play this next clip because the House Minority Speaker Hakeem Jeffries accidentally let it slip that the Democrats are not for the people, they're for themselves.
Now, I want you to pay very close attention to this sellout from the Congressional Black Caucus, Hakeem Jeffries. He's going to actually let it slip out his mouth that it's about them maintaining power, not about representing the people that voted them into office. That's why it is time to get rid of these shields and to see them clearly. They are agents of chaos. They work against the aspirations of the citizens that they claim to represent. Listen to Hakeem Jeffries.
And their power. Watch.
Is it realistic to even think about doing some kind of legislation with the Republican Party, which is now a MAGA party, and they want immigrants out? They want them mass deported. They're not going to cooperate with Democrats on a bill.
Well, I think the American people have consistently made clear that while we understand the need, and it is appropriate to make sure that violent felons who are presenting a risk of harm to everyday Americans and who are here unlawfully should no longer be here. While at the same period of time, we should be focused, of course, on those violent felons and not families. And I think public sentiment is going to be critical. Abraham Lincoln often said, with it, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. Mm-hmm. And though we won't have the gavels, we will have the ability to help shape public sentiment and make sure that the American people push back against far-right overreach if it occurs from the incoming administration or extreme.
I want to stop right there. Did you hear what he said to Joy Reid? Everybody is familiar with Joy Reid and her politics. He said even though they won't have power of the courts and the presidency, they will have power to shape the narrative, to shape your mentality, to make you think that you're going against a far-right agenda while they push their liberalism and destroy your communities and your homes. He's talking about the ability to manipulate you psychologically. This is what he's telling Joy Reid. We don't have no power, but we do have the power to manipulate these people. And how they do it is through their race baiting, through their fear-mongering, and their victim Olympics. And he just said the quiet part out loud.
Republicans in the House.
A normal politician listens to what the people want and fights for what the people want. What Hakeem Jeffries just said is they want to change public sentiment around their own policies, i.e., they want what they want. They have their own agenda in mind, and they want the American people to get on board with that, not do what the American people are wanting them to do. And that's why people are so upset when you see these sanctuary city mayors and these sanctuary state governors fighting so hard against Trump's deportation plans. Because the American people are like, dude, we voted for this. We want this problem to be solved. And these governors and mayors are fighting against the will of the people. They have their own agenda that they want the people to get behind, no matter how destructive it is to their own citizens. I honestly could not tell you why a single governor or mayor is fighting against mass deportations. It's going to alleviate the financial burden on these cities, and it's going to reduce the strain on all of the local services, whether it's health, education, housing, social services. It's going to lower crime, and it's going to make the citizens more happy. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Is there any rational reason you can think of for why they would want so many illegal immigrants coming into the country? Or was it just a power grab play by the Democrat Party? If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel.
If you're Chicago mayor.
Now, I asked the same question that he asked. What would make them so adamant about going against the will of the people and their own constituents in favor of illegal immigrants? Were the Democrats trying to create a new voters bloc that would be loyal to them? Or were they trying to create chaos that would destroy the cohesiveness of this country so that they could implement communism, martial law? Were they doing the same things that they were accusing Trump of? Are they the real fascists? And we're using immigrants as a pawn in a move to create so much chaos in the country that they could lock it down and maintain power while they erode the moral fiber of this country? Think about it, because everything that they've said and accused the conservatives of, they are guilty of themselves. So this last clip, I want you to see what Trump's border czar has to say to Brandon Johnson and how he is in support of the people of Chicago. Let's listen to Tom Holman.
If your Chicago mayor doesn't want to help, he can step aside. But if he impedes us, if he knowingly harbors and conceals an illegal alien, I will prosecute him.
President-elect Trump's new border czar says mass deportation efforts will begin right here in Chicago and issues a warning to Mayor Johnson.
And that's not all. He had harsh words for others, the mayor, as well as Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Sylvia Perez joins us now with more.
Yeah, his name is Tom Holman, and he's Trump's hand-picked man for border czar. He recently spoke at a Northwest Side GOP holiday party that you just saw and told the crowd he plans on verifying the status of asylum seekers and, as you heard, arresting anyone who is found harboring migrants who they are looking for, including Chicago's own mayor. He called out both Johnson and Governor Pritzker, saying he wants to meet with them, but the invitation came with some harsh words.
Chicago's in trouble because your mayor sucks and your governor sucks.
And we spoke with Chicago Alderman Ray Lopez, who met with Holman privately. He says the messaging may have been too harsh, but Pritzker and Johnson should be working with the federal government to deport migrants who are breaking the law.
If you are here and undocumented and trying to go about your business, then let's figure something out. But if you are here choosing to engage in gang activity, murder, drugs, prostitution, human trafficking, or sex crimes against minors, then absolutely, your number has come.
Governor Pritzker's office had this to say about Holman's comments. It is no secret that Illinois will face countless baseless attacks over the next 4 years from the Trump administration. Rather than responding to every ridiculous boast from Trump lackeys, Governor Pritzker is focused on what he was focused on during the first Trump term, leading our state with competence instead of chaos. Holman, by the way, was acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement during Trump's first administration and is known as the architect of the Trump administration's zero tolerance policy. Scott?
Okay, have you heard about this dental implant provider that was somehow able to make getting permanent dental implants affordable?
Now, what's interesting about that is the governor, who looks like he may be an immigrant himself, are saying that the lackeys, he's calling the czar a lackey, and they're ignoring what the people of Chicago are saying. They act like what they're saying is not even being said. This is this liberal governor and this liberal mayor, these far left people in the Democratic Party that have totally become tone deaf to the will of the people in their own cities, in their own state. Exactly how Biden was with the entire country, while he sent money to Ukraine and had these proxy wars during his administration, but ignored the will of the people. It's the same thing. And they even had you thinking that the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, is some type of friend to the black community. She's not. Nowhere where there's Democratic governors and mayors are black people thriving. Everywhere they are, our people are suffering. The communities are suffering. As if it's some type of orchestrated, sinister plan coming out of D.C. We stand with Chicago. It's time to vote out blue, no matter who. Well, this is Friday. Signing to you out of Detroit. This is Detroit's HPTV. Keep your head on a swivel. As always, salute to all patriots. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.